Well, good things come to those who wait. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, live in Mobile, Alabama, Reese's Senior Bowl coverage. This show brought to you by Coach Stark Homes, the presenting sponsor here of PHNX Cardinals at the Senior Bowl. Check them out. If you're in the market for a home, get a hold of Coach Stark today at CoachStarkHomes.com. Get a hold of this man to my right, Bo Brack. Boots on the ground. He, producer extraordinaire, Damon Dog, all the insights you want for the Arizona Cardinals at the Mobile Senior Bowl. Mr. Bo Brack, how we living?
We're living great. Just talked to some big-time prospects. Just talked to a big-time draft insider and Tony Pauline. The latest on his breaking story from earlier today as far as the Denver Broncos, Johnny, being a little desperate to get up the draft board in order to draft themselves one of these top three quarterbacks. We'll talk to Tony here in just a second to get more insight on that. But I can tell you this, and you already knew this before we even talked to Tony, was that this is good news for the Arizona Cardinals as they want that top wide receiver and Marvin Harrison Jr. to fall into their lap at 4th overall.
Yeah, not to throw water, but we will on local reports here in the Valley that came out, I don't know, upwards of about 7 to 10 days ago. The Arizona Cardinals have their sights set on number 18 out of Columbus, and it's going to be great to hear your thoughts with Tony Pauline. A lot of NFL news today is kind of a sub-bullet to what's going on in the Senior Bowl. I do want to get your thoughts, Bo Brock, here on the top of the show. Old McDonald had a team in the Seattle Seahawks. The Baltimore Ravens lose their defensive coordinator. The Seattle Seahawks pounce on their new head coach. Your thoughts on replacing a legend in Pete Carroll with yet another defensive head coach?
Yeah, exactly half his age, right? 72-year-old Pete Carroll, given his gold watch and sent packing a couple weeks ago. Kind of a shock to at least the NFC West after he had this team over 500 once again, and they were just consistently in it throughout his entire tenure there, including a Super Bowl appearance, always in the thick as far as the division. The unprecedented had the schedule rebuild last year with, the resurgence of Geno Smith at the NFL level. It's really strange. And then you got 36-year-old Mike Macdonald coming over from the Baltimore Ravens. I like to call him a little Jonathan Gannon light, right? I think that he is very similar to Jonathan Gannon now as far as you look at this NFC West coaching landscape. You got McVay and you got Shanahan, two offensive gurus, and then you got the defensive gurus in Gannon and Macdonald.
Yeah, Macdonald, to me, I mean, it certainly feels like second-tier choice for them. They thought at one point Ben Johnson was going to be an option for them, Bo Brock. Of course, he opts to stay in Detroit. Geno Smith, the skill players, I think in Seattle, like they would have benefited from an offensive head coach. The Cardinals benefit from this decision. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, as much as I think highly of what Baltimore did defensively, I think that's part of the culture and the personnel that they have. And then you look at Seattle, and they don't really have the defensive personnel to support a Mike Macdonald early on in his tenure. And I get it. Like, you can say the same thing about JG. Jonathan Gannon inherited Kyler Murray. Mike Macdonald, Geno Smith on like a 1-year contract. He regressed last year. This is a good move for the Cardinals that the Seattle Seahawks opted for another defensive head coach with average to marginal defensive personnel. I think had the Seahawks gotten Ben Johnson, that would have been like oh, wow, the Seahawks might be back. They might be legitimate. I think this is absolutely going to give the Cardinals a platform to jump Seattle and be back in contention for the NFC West.
Yeah, it's great to see one of the teams just kind of out of nowhere just have organizational malpractice when they seem to have the pieces in place to, every year be in the thick of things. And now, like, there's so many unknowns. And the quarterback position is one of those. And that was not, as polarizing as Kyler Murray was, it wasn't to Gannon and really awesome for it. They needed to kind of figure out some things as far as Kyler Murray on the playing field and as far as how he would fit in, how he would buy in. But they certainly kind of answered that question where I think Seattle doesn't have the luxury of somebody that could be the present in the future at that position. And that's going to be huge going forward. And I think that's what fits into the narrative that a lot of people lazily want to throw out there that, a defensive coach, with a quarterback, in a young quarterback sometimes isn't the best, most conducive thing. So they're going to have to find their offensive play caller. And there's still so many questions and less answers for the Seahawks, which is it benefits Arizona incredibly well. Even outside of the stuff that's trending their direction, where they feel like they found their guy in JG, they found his coaching staff solid, and the front office has set itself up to have a tremendous offseason with all the draft capital and all the cap space.
We've got answers. You've got questions. Here's a question for you. Why haven't you liked this video? Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Let's get this video to 300 likes today on a football Wednesday. Of course, Damon Dog Bo joining us live from Mobile, site of the Reese's Senior Bowl, and loaded content today. If you haven't checked it out, PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter. Let's talk about it. Everybody's chatting it up in the chat. Love to see it. What's going on with Marvin Harrison Jr.? What's going on with these quarterbacks? Obviously, they're not there in Mobile, but the chatter is there. It really does feel like 3 months ahead of the draft, this is the kind of draft where we can telegraph the picks ahead of time. We've compared it. I've compared it to everybody knew Trevor Lawrence was going first overall. Like everybody knows Caleb Williams is going first overall. But now I think we almost have, pending something happening, injury, God forbid, we have a trajectory now, and it's being telegraphed, Bo, by insiders like Tony Pauline there at the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they're guys that have he has tremendous insight, and I think that he's a guy, and he'll admit it, that he was kicking a bit of a hornet's nest last year at this time with the fan base, and Kyler Murray, and as they continued their coaching search that did last for further into this offseason. You put out a graphic on Twitter, like, man, what a difference a year makes. We're looking at all the candidates that included Jonathan Gannon that nobody else really had at the time. Man, yeah, I mean, you're starting to see, even before Indy, some guys make their way up the draft board that weren't already there. And I think, a guy we've talked about, a lot yesterday, and the tackle out of Oklahoma, and Tyler Guyton, who expressed his undying love for former Sooner quarterback and himself, and Kyler Murray. And then you've got Quinyon Mitchell, who I was fortunate enough to catch up with today before our show started. And we'll have that interview for you in tomorrow's episode. But I'll give you a little nugget. Quinyon has met with the Arizona Cardinals here in Mobile. And they are in what is making a very solid case for himself as not just the top DB out here at the Senior Bowl, but the top DB in this class.
Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell, is he CB1 in this draft? Suddenly, Jessica saying, I'm really glad JG's our guy. I can't imagine what JG would be able to do with a talent the caliber of Mitchell, coming out of a small school like Toledo, dominating. Like every piece of film, the highlights that I see live from Mobile, Bo, he looks like he's blanketing all these receivers that we're calling like top 50 prospects. Like, are you going to be shocked if come, the NFL draft, or certainly at the combine, like this guy's being talked about as a top 15 pick?
I'm going to be bummed. Sure. Selfish reasons, right? Because 27, you thought, hey, if he's there, do you take him there? And now he's emphatically answered that question. Like, yes, you take a player like that. I mean, I think he's got everything that you want, and getting to know him a little bit better as far as, what makes him tick, and his competitiveness that you'll see on full display in our one-on-one conversation with him. That's tomorrow. I think he would fit right in as far as what Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rollis want to do on that defensive side of the football. A lot of mutual respect for a big name in the Cardinals defense. So I won't, unveil too much or reveal too much, but he's somebody that, it's like, hey, let's be a little bit more tight-lipped about him going forward, because you don't want him to rise too far. But I think the damage into his benefit has already been done. And the same thing goes for a guy like Guyton. And Guyton is now, like, I know it's a stack class at tackle, but I think he's somebody that is there like tackle 3 or 4 now. He's in that conversation.
Yeah, you love to see guys go to the Senior Bowl and make money for themselves and prove themselves. It's what Michael Wilson did last year, cemented himself as a top 100 player based on his performance, injury concerns, and then go out and dominate defensive backs this time last year. And now you're seeing, flip the script with some of these other guys. Whereas, Guyton was kind of a forgotten player, at least for me, because Lincoln Riley's no longer at Oklahoma. He was a Lincoln Riley recruit. He's stuck it out with the new regime that didn't win a lot of games there in Norman. And now he's got a projection to, and we talked about on yesterday's show, to somebody that I think can play left tackle right away. I think can come in and absolutely allow Paris Johnson Jr. to be on the right-hand side. But we're talking about two players now that had the Houston Texans played their role and been bad this year, very much on the Cardinal radar. Unfortunately, now you look at it, the Cardinals would unequivocally have to move up for Guyton, it feels like, or Mitchell in any scenario. Maybe they hit the late teens, early 20s, you can flip a third-round pick for. That's probably best case scenario. I mean, those are tackle and cornerback remain premium positions. It's an incredibly deep tackle class. But, I mean, Alu Fashanu, Joe Alt, if they go quickly, like top 7-8 picks, everybody circles the left tackle out of Norman, Oklahoma now as somebody to watch for in the top 15. I think he's really helped himself. Good for him, bad for the Cardinals, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. And you know, on top of the news that we started the show with, that is ultimately the best news, right? As far as who's going to be there at 4th with their first selection in this draft. And, you know, I think what this is also showing this week in Mobile is like tackle class is just as deep as people projected. The wide receiver class is just as deep as people projected, even though some of those players, those top players, aren't here in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors and Rome Dunze and Keon Coleman. But you're seeing on full display the depth after that and in that tackle class. But the quarterback class, I don't think anybody, you know, in guys that, you know, were in the conversation to potentially be first-round picks, I don't think anybody's really truly making a good case for themselves in Michael Penix Jr. and a guy like Bo Nix. So, like, this is a 3-quarterback first-round draft right now, but still plays right into the hands of one Monty Ossenfort.
Isn't it almost better? And we're going to hear from Tony Pauline here in just a couple moments, but it almost feels like it's better than Bo Nix and Michael Penix aren't lighting it up. Like, I don't want them to light it up. I want there to be a sense of urgency that unless you get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, like, good luck. Better not next year. Go get a Ryan Tannehill in free agency if you're the Las Vegas Raiders or some of these other teams. Like, that's the reality. That's the sandbox you're going to be playing in. Like, everything I saw today, Bo, from you and other people there, Bo Nix did not have a good day. And I'm like, that's good news. We don't want Bo Nix to be in a position where he's helping himself. We want, you know, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and company to do that. And now we've got word, your interview with Tony Pauline from our guy Damon Dog. Let's cue that up.
Out here in Mobile, our guy Tony Pauline making some waves today with a report about the Denver Broncos, and it could have a direct effect as far as the Arizona Cardinals go at 4th overall. Check him out, Sportskeeda, and of course, follow him on Twitter. It's an essential follow for all your draft insight at Tony Pauline. Tony, how we doing?
I'm okay. I think a year ago I was kind of kicking the wasp nest with the Arizona Cardinals, right? Now it's something that may affect the Cardinals, but I don't know.
You know, Kyler's always a polarizing subject, no doubt about it. But I think absolutely, like, what he was asked of this year, he certainly did for, you know, what the organization was asking as far as Gannon, Monty Ossenfort, and there's buy-in there. And they're moving forward at the quarterback position. But the Denver Broncos, as you reported today, is there sort of desperation for them to get up and get one of these quarterbacks?
Well, it's the head coach, Sean Payton. I mean, he inherited Russell Wilson. It didn't work out. He wants his own quarterback. He's not going to get it at 12. He wants to move up to get the top 3. But if you actually read the article, it's going to be almost impossible for them to move up because the way it looks right now, the top 3 teams, the Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders, and New England Patriots are going to swipe those first 3 quarterbacks off the board. So there's been some rumors about Patrick Surtain being involved in a deal. As I said in the article, I don't think it's going to happen because those top 3 teams are quarterback needy, and as we know, quarterbacks are always overdrafted. They're always taken earlier than their grade warrants. These 3 guys are pretty good. I think they're going to be off the board 1, 2, and 3.
You know, regardless, it plays into the favor of Monty Ossenfort's hands, though, right? Because he could potentially get what some people would say is the top prospect in this draft at 4. Is that crazy?
No, but Marvin Harrison is the number 1 player on my board. Marvin Harrison is an outstanding wide receiver. Marvin Harrison fills a need. He's got great bloodlines. He's a great natural passer. I don't know that he's a vertical threat, but he's sneaky fast. He runs great underneath routes. He's got excellent size. He wins out for the contested pass. He's very polished. I think he was underused at Ohio State. I think if Ohio State used him correctly, he would have been in the conversation for a Heisman Trophy. Ohio State would have been a much better team. If he goes to Arizona and they use him correctly, No doubt about it.
Loaded with draft capital. We could talk, hours as far as what they could do in this draft. But 4th overall, that seems like it's a good spot for Austin Fort and crew. What do you like at 27 later in this draft? You look at maybe a premium position, go tackle, go corner. Somebody like Quinyon Mitchell is really lighting up out here at Senior Bowl.
Well, Mitchell's been fantastic. And if you read my article today at Sportskeeda, a lot of people think he could be the first cornerback selected. Not just a first rounder, which people wanted to see coming in, but the first cornerback, because Terry and Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Wiggins of Clemson, they all have little holes in their games. Mitchell continually plays better and better. If he's there, obviously they need a cornerback. They grab him. But still, you could still have Wiggins there, Terry and Arnold, and McKinstry, and those guys are good value, late in the first round. Or maybe an bigger offensive tackle, so maybe you could swing Paris Johnson back to the right, to the left side. This is a good offensive tackle class. Yeah. And I think whether it's late in round 1 or in day 2, the Cardinals will be able to fill that, tackle need for a guy in the future.
Yeah. Real quick, last question. As far as those tackles, it feels like a guy like Tyler Guyton is really kind of flashing here. We follow closely in Arizona Jordan Morgan. If you were pressed and you had to make a decision between maybe 2 of those prospects.
Depends on what you're looking for. Tyler Guyton's going to be a very early draft pick. He's going to be top 15 guy. Jordan Morgan has struggled here at left tackle. He's got short arms. I think his arms are under 33 inches. I think Jordan Morgan's going to be a real good zone blocking guard in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be a left tackle. So if you're looking for if you're looking between the two, you're going to go with Tyler Guyton, but you better be drafted in the top 15 because Tyler Guyton's going to be probably the next tackle off the board after Fasciano of Penn State and Alt of Notre Dame.
Tremendous insight. Tony Pauline, follow him on Twitter at Tony Pauline. Read his work, Sportskeeda. He's breaking news every Senior Bowl and beyond, all the way up until the draft day and weekend. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks for having me.
Pour one out for Jordan Morgan. That's what I took from that. Good luck to Jordan Morgan. We're fans of his work. We got Saul Bookman, U of A graduate, watching the program now. It's been fun mocking Jordan Morgan to the Cardinals. Not good. Not going to take Jordan Morgan at 27. Maybe if he falls, value pick later on. But there's so much to take away from that. We got to get to some reads here. But your initial thought. You spoke with Tony. That's a lot of good insight there.
That is in a short amount of time. Sean Payton can have the biggest eyes as far as the top quarterbacks in this draft. Are they going to have the ammo to get up that high? It could be a pipe dream, but it still plays right into the Arizona Cardinals' hands. And he said Marvin Harrison Jr., his top player on the board, and you're sitting there at 4 in a prime spot to get him. That is huge news for the Cardinals and their rebuild.
Austin, pour that Capri Sun out for Jordan Morgan. Do so gently, kindly go to bed.
He's a great kid. I talked to Jordan Morgan today. We're
holster that. I want to get your insight because listen. He's a fan. He's a darling. All of us at 27. Now I don't know what we're gonna do now. Here's what you got to do though. You got to check out BetMGM. Bet 5, get 158 instantly. We got the big game just around the corner, and there are, let's just say, quite a few nifty props, maybe some locks that you can check out with our friends at BetMGM. Phoenix Suns are popping off right now. We've got spring training baseball right around the corner. Coyotes are playing well. BetMGM is going to hook you up regardless. Bet 5, get 158 instantly for new customers, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Pop over to your phone, iOS or Android, or check them out, BetMGM.com. Especially look at the big game props with BetMGM and check everything out on my screen. All you got to do, deposit $5, 5 bones into your account. New customer, place one bet. You're going to receive 158 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. It does have to be standard odds price. You got to do it with BetMGM. You got to do it with PHNX, and you got to check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy, producer extraordinaire Damon Dog, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Unbelievable work being done by our guy Damon Dog here in Mobile, and unbelievable work being done in the real estate market in the Valley of the Sun from our guy Coach Stark, who we're just so excited to be partnering with this entire week. You got to check out our guy Coach Stark if you are in the market for a home. Coach Stark is going to be the most competitive and up to snuff real estate agent to get you in the home of your dreams, the condo, whatever you may be looking for, wherever it may be around the valley, Johnny. He is so competitive. He's willing to donate $2,000 of his own commission to help you with the closing costs, to maybe make it a little bit easier for you to get in your home. Coach Stark, of course, years on the sidelines, coaching it up on the hardwood, but a huge, passionate Arizona Cardinals fan that is also passionate about getting you in the home, in the place of your dreams. He's worked with our guy Frank Sanders before, worked with former Arizona Cardinals wide receiver and kick returner Marte Jenkins on multiple occasions. You can trust this guy. The Valley of the Sun certainly does. Best of the West for 3 years in a row, 2020, 2021, and 2022. Let's hopefully get him on the board as well in 2023. If you're in the market for a home, you got to check out our guy, Coach Stark Realty, part of the West US or the US West Realty as well. He'll help you out. Get in touch with him at 623-695-3929. That's 623-695-3929. And don't let that 623 area code throw you off. He's all over the valley. He's got his finger on the pulse all around, getting you into the home that you want. East Valley, West Valley, no matter where it might be. It's Coach Stark Homes at Coach Stark Homes on Twitter and CoachStarkHomes.com. That's CoachStarkHomes.com. He's going to cut $2,000 out of his commission to help you get into the home of your dreams.
Cardinal fans, helping Cardinal fans. You love to see
right.
that. You love to see the work from Coach Starks and his team. Couldn't be more proud to have him sponsoring this week. Senior Bowl coverage, doing a fantastic job.
He's like the JG of the real estate market. He's got fire in his gut. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's all about the process.
If we made a gut meter for Coach Starks, it would be off the screen. It would be unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, I need to debrief on that Tony Pauline. If you just joined us, Bo Brock having a chance to chat with NFL Insider Tony Pauline at the Reese's Senior Bowl. And listen, a lot of good insight there. I think, do we do a victory lap today? Because I think there are some outlets that, number one, don't believe that 3 quarterbacks are going top 3. You and I have been of that mindset. And then there are outlets here, frankly, locally, that dismiss the idea somehow, some way that the Cardinals would take Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. Like, share a little insight, because you share with me kind of off air your engagements with Tony, because let's all use our brains and be smart here. Can we do that for 2 seconds? I just feel like let's turn our brains on and let's be smart. Bo, educate us, would you please?
When we started, or actually before we even turned the mics on and the camera, he was feeling me out as far as, where I was. Was I some sort of wise guy that would try to pawn off some sort of idea that the Cardinals would look outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. for the 4th overall selection if he fell into their lap? And, I said that I from what we're hearing and what we know, that they want number 18 out of Columbus. And, he said, yeah, I can tell you, the Cardinals, the player that they covet in this draft is not here in Mobile and at the Senior Bowl. So you can kind of do just deduction there and look, you kind of read between the lines as far as who he's talking about. And then he said he's got him as his top player on his board. I mean, he doesn't shy away from, how good of a player and prospect he believes Marvin Harrison Jr. is. And with the Arizona Cardinals in a prime spot to have him fall in their lap, I think you would be, it'd be organizational malpractice if they pivoted elsewhere.
I feel like, and I don't think this is an extreme statement, like if you see other outlets saying the Cardinals are going to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe question why you're consuming that content to begin with. If you consume it regularly, that's all I'm saying. If you consume this show regularly, give us a like, subscribe to PHNX Sports. 3 quarterbacks in the top 3. Here's what I like: the Denver Broncos willingly wanting to come up to 3, presumably 3, not 2, not 1. Caleb Williams, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, was like liking Chicago Realtor posts on Instagram. We can talk about that here in a little bit. Be that as it may. So the Broncos and Sean Payton, number one, you remember all the crazy stuff that Sean Payton used to make Mickey Loomis do? Remember when they would trade up to for Marcus Davenport? That was Sean Payton. So this does not surprise me at all. And I'm sure, he just got rid of Russell Wilson, of course, or he's about to. He jet set Patrick Surtain for his franchise quarterback. The fact that Tony Pauline is so adamant that the New England Patriots would scoff at a package that could potentially include Patrick Surtain says everything you need to know about what the Patriots are doing with the 3rd overall pick. We are so flippin' blessed. I see somebody in the chat saying, can we get a Matt Prater Savior t-shirt in the PHNX merchandise locker? We almost have to get to that point because Jaden Daniels, the prodigal son, has returned from the ASU ashes to LSU dominance, is going to gift the Arizona Cardinals Marvin Harrison Jr. It's legitimately happening.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. Like that it was a tough season, right? You endured that, and the reward of that is to be able to get yourself in a position. Obviously, figuring out who your quarterback of today and tomorrow is going to be was a big part of the season. But wearing it for a 17 game slate, and then having some momentum at the end of that season, and then to be able to be gifted a player of the caliber of Marvin Harrison Jr. You don't mess around with that. Like
No.
the football gods are already done, worked overtime as far as this goes. You win in Philly and you still get rewarded. That's fantastic. And you can only continue to parlay that into more good vibes for the Arizona Cardinals and revamping this roster.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the top 4 in the NFL draft potentially being decided upon on January 31st or beforehand. It's unprecedented, but to your point and what the chat is saying, it speaks to how loaded this draft class is. And I want to pivot to that and talk about some of the players that were on display today, Bo Brock. So Quinton Mitchell, probably not going to make it to 27. Guyton, probably not going to make it now to 27, which is unfortunate. Latu, out of UCLA, everything that I saw, if you're not following us on PHNX Cardinals on Twitter, what are you doing? Latu is just destroying people. Is there a chance he could be edge number 1, the kid out of UCLA, who, by the way, his production out of the Pac-12 was elite, and now he's putting offensive linemen to work at the Senior Bowl this week?
He is. Well, I mean, you would think so. I mean, he's just blowing by them. Even in like touch football, they wouldn't even get any kind of scores. I mean, he made a swim move between 2 potential blockers, and they didn't come close to him down. And he was the kind of day that he had here in day 2 in Mobile. And another one. It's like, man, are we just like, we could talk so much about 4, and there's only so many teams between you and 4, but there is a long way to go between 4 and 27. And it's like Mitchell, Guyton, Latu, like I think we might get caught maybe daydreaming too much with those guys, because I think that they're probably all likely off the board before Monty Ossenfort is back up on it in the war room and the Arizona Cardinals can select again. So might have to set our sights on a couple, maybe a few different prospects than these 3 guys, because they are, I think, solidifying themselves as, pick and spreads, who I trust his insight very much as far as the draft goes. He's got Latu as his edge 1, even ahead of like a Dallas Turner out of Bama, or I mean, what Latu was able to do at Oklahoma or at UCLA, overcome a serious, almost career-ending injury, and then to bounce back with 13 sacks, and then according to Pro Football Focus, he graded out like at the highest number edge rusher has ever graded out at the collegiate level since they started doing it. And I know that's sample size, but it's still impressive with the names that he had higher grades than playing for the Bruins. So, I mean, these are 3 prospects that you may almost have to take off your board. Like, of course, Johnny, like they're guys, if they're there,
right,
there's nothing, there's no debate over it. But these are 3 guys that I think are going to be firmly out of reach.
It's crazy. Like pour 3 or 4 out for prospects for different reasons today. The 3 you just mentioned, and I don't think Latu was ever a realistic target. Mitchell's off the board now, and so is so is Guyton. They're going to be off the board. They're not going to be available. And then, we touched on it. Poor Jordan Morgan. Is it Peter Skoronski 2.0, but he's not as good of a prospect, and he's got baby arms. Somebody in the chat saying I'm going to say he has baby arms. If his arms are too short to play tackle, they're not going to draft him in the first round. And you spoke with him, and he has not met with the Cardinals. That's draft malpractice. He's 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away from where the Cardinals practice. Dave Sears, the Cardinals assistant GM, is there, and he won't speak to him. Come on, guys, give him a token one-on-one. Poor Jordan Morgan. What's going to happen now?
As far as his arms are concerned, I think his arms were at 32 and 7/8, and people say like the length that you want to be at for a tackle is 33 inches. So he's an 1/8 of an inch off there. I'm not too concerned about that, but he hasn't looked as good as like a Guyton has so far this week.
As somebody who height is very important, and I want every half inch I can get, I can tell you 1/8 is a big deal. It's very much
Oh,
a big deal. It's what separates me from 5'6" to 5'7" potentially, depending on the shoes I'm wearing. So, Damon, I'm going to have to disagree with you.
There couldn't have been like the way Tony Pauline talked about Jordan Morgan couldn't have been it was the only final nail in the coffin as far as Jordan Morgan and him to the Cardinals. It's unfortunate because he's a great kid and he does look like he passes the eye test. I mean, he's close to 6'5", and he looked enough to me, but that's why I'm not a decision maker.
Could they draft him as a guard? Would you draft him as a guard at
not
35?
27? Yeah, at 35. At 35, sure.
Okay. Well, maybe he's not completely, but they need a tackle, and like
baby arms. You're relentless.
Hey, listen, if I have to give it to Skoronski last year, I can't be biased, even though he's a local product in Jordan Morgan. Like, small arms.
Here's good perspective. Animal TV saying 33 is short. Paris Johnson is 36 inches. Okay.
You need long arms to play tackle. You can have shorter arms to play guard, but they're not taking a guard at 27.
Sports Hero saying Morgan is 6'5" with Johnny's arms.
My arms are so small they can almost fit in this screen on the TV. So give me a tackle now that 27. Guyton's going to be gone. Fuego's going to be gone. Fuego's red hot right now. Everybody loves him. Flaga, excuse me. And then the kid out of Washington, everybody says is probably better suited to play guard. Jordan Morgan's off the board now. Like, it's bottom of the barrel looking for scraps now at 27. Like, what are the options to tackle?
I mean, it's a deep class. Kingsley is at BYU, right? He's a big kid, right? Damon, what are his officials?
I have not watched a single snap of any player from BYU this year, and I refuse to do it until I have to. I will not watch BYU film. I already had to condition my brain for U of A prospects and the NFL draft. Now you're asking me to watch BYU tape to protect Kyler Murray. I refuse, sir. I refuse.
All right, so then you pivot to you go to the defensive side of the ball because it's the most dire as far as the needs go, and then you start to like what Tony said. I think there's a lot of value there. Like if Mitchell gets too high, the consolation prize is there. From Wiggins, who played some solid football to some other guys who are playing more Power 5 football at the collegiate level. I think that those are some options for it. And then the pass rush, whoever might, you hope that's not picked too clean by 27. And then like you got 3 third-round picks. Is it possible? Do you consider a move up? I think there's some potential there. Yeah.
I think you do. Somebody just put his name in the chat. We talked about him off air, and I have not heard one iota about him this week. Cooper DeJean has re-entered the chat potentially for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, you look at a mock, he could be as high as like 12th, or he could be at the back half of the first round. It does feel like, could we be back into Cooper DeJean? Could be available in the 20s for the Cardinals to draft at 27? Because Cooper DeJean's not at the Senior Bowl this week, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But he's also not being talked about. Like and you'll be able to see all these interviews. I think I talked to 3 different people. Damian Parson from the Draft Network to Tony and Pauline went through the top prospects at the position, including Kool-Aid, including Wiggins and Quinyon. Did not. None of them have mentioned Cooper DeJean, which is a little concerning. And I think that's probably they're thinking like true corner, like true outside corner. And I think that's where the debate is with a guy like Cooper DeJean.
Somebody just said, Colt said, Johnny's going to throw up live on camera if we draft Cooper DeJean. I'm not at that point yet. It's not my preference. But then you got people on Twitter saying Cards would be so fortunate to get DeJean at 27. He's going to go top 20. He's going to go top 15. I don't know, man. Can we just get an established player from a big-time program that plays the position at the collegiate level they're going to play in the NFL level? Like, that worked out pretty well for the Cardinals last year. Like, Jordan Morgan, if he has to go to guard, like, that concerns me. DeJean, is he a true outside corner? A lot to discuss there. I see Richard's super chat, $1.99, asking about Jesse Luketa coming back. He signed a futures deal restricted free agent tender today. He's back with the
Mhm.
Cardinals with Carter O'Donnell. I want to get Bo's take on that, but first I want to get everybody's take. Best casino in Arizona, it's without question Gila River Resorts and Casino. If you have not checked them out here in the Valley, what are you waiting for? We're going to be at Vegas next week. I'm going to tell you right now, the Vegas casinos have nothing on Gila River Resorts and Casinos, and you might scoff at that. I had an opportunity to spend every home Sunday at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. One of the best experiences I've had at any sports book, any casino. Clean, tons of slot machines, 15 blackjack tables, a supremely nice steakhouse, Prime A Shula Steakhouse, casual, grab a cocktail up top, hang out by the pool, whatever you want to do, check it out. If you're thinking, I'd like to take my wife, my significant other, my spouse out for the weekend, and I don't want to leave Phoenix because Phoenix rules right now, especially 75, 80 degrees. Gila River Resorts and Casinos is your answer. Check them out. Head to Gila River Resorts and Casinos.com at playatgila.com for more details and let them show you what Next Level is all about. I promise you, if anybody came out to our watch parties, they can attest to this. Best kept secret in the Valley. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Check them out right now.
Don't want to keep any more secrets as far as the best way to redo your floors, right? It's a tough thing. It's a tough topic to broach. When you're looking at your house, when you're looking at your condo and you need to replace some flooring, maybe some hardwood, some carpeting, it's always a frustrating process. But now with our friends over at Empire Today, they're making it shop at home convenience. They're giving it to you with empiretoday.com/PHNX. You got to check it out. It's easy, it's quick, it's convenient, it's cutting edge. They've got the virtual floor designer where you can design your floors and you can see exactly how they're going to look in your whatever your dwelling may be, whether it's your condo, whether it's your dining room or your kitchen, or you're putting some new carpet in there. Empire Today's virtual floor designer is a great way to see how the floors are going to look in your space. They are attached and partnered up with us as far as us in our mock draft season this year because they love it. They love draft season, and we love that they make a quick, easy, convenient way for us to get new flooring in our home. And you got to do it for yourself. Do yourself a service. Check out what they got going on, empiretoday.com/PHNX, and you can already start the process and receiving a $350 off discount with Empire Today. Go to empiretoday.com/PHNX to start your way to getting quick, convenient new flooring with $350 off right away. empiretoday.com.
We got over 300. God bless you all. Hit that like button. Leave a comment down below. It helps spread PHNX Cardinals, PHNX Sports here on YouTube today and all week. Presented by Coach Stark's Homes here in the Valley. I touched on it. Super chat from our guy, Richard, $1.99. What do you guys think about the Jesse Luketich signing, Bo? I thought this could potentially be a guy that could be ousted I know he's got position flexibility and versatility, but they're going to need help elsewhere, pass rusher. Were you surprised by this move?
No, I think that this is just an easy move. I mean, even if they wanted to move off him between now and the start of the 2024 season, which is forever away right now, he was an exclusive rights free agent because he was a draft guy and then he was eventually released and then brought back. So he becomes an exclusive rights free agent. So is Carter O'Donnell. So it was just like Monty Austin-Fort just flipping a switch and saying, yeah, bring him back. Give me some offensive line depth. Give me a guy with pass rush depth that has versatility, that played fullback, that plays teams. Luketich is all of that. So you've got a guy that's going to be able to go throughout the process of OTAs and until you start to really develop and kind of mold your roster. Those are players that they trust right now, and that's fine. Like it's not gonna win or lose them any football game, but I think it's just a move. And I think he likes to have players on the roster that he trusts before he goes into the unknown in the offseason. Okay, Johnny. Yeah. Go ahead. Your thoughts on Jesse?
No. Go ahead. You got some insight for us?
No, I mean, I think that I think I got a new trio as far as maybe some options at the back end of the draft, and
all right,
Damon has some insight.
Here's what I'm like. I've had my bubble burst as a part of the show. I feel great about Marvin at 4. I've never felt better. I felt confident about that before hearing from Tony Pauline, but now I think there's some uncertainty at pick 27. So I need you to coddle me on the show. I need to be told that some elites, that some blue chippers, that some premium players are going to be available at pick 27 because here's what I don't want to have happen. The player that they take at 27 could have been available at 40 or 45 or 50. Like who's a realistic target for this team now?
All right. Well, first, Damon's going to give us some insight as far as Kingsley, the BYU tackle. How big is he?
Okay.
Yeah, so Kingsley Suamataia, he is 6'4" and 3/8, 329 pounds, 10 and 3/8 hands, and 34 and 2/8 arm span. So I think actually I looked it up real quick. 34 inches is that ideal arm span that you want for a tackle, and Morgan's was actually 32 and 7/8, so he's an inch and an eighth short. So maybe he is more of a guard.
Just buried him more with Johnny. Johnny's just like,
hey,
I'm way off.
Hey man, we're in the spirit of being honest here.
Circle back come Friday night. Maybe don't go in that green room on Thursday, Jordan. Somebody, can we get you guys, Damon, you and Saul have ties to U of A. Let's get you guys on the phone with this people and just kind of let him know probably not a good move to saddle in for the NFL. Where's the draft this year? Is it in Green Bay or something? Don't go to the green room. Stay away from the green room, Jordan. You're
a monster. All right, let's open up a couple, give you a couple more names then. Okay, you ready for these?
Yeah.
All right. Byron Murphy II, Texas interior defensive lineman.
No issues with that. No issues with that at all.
Okay. Let's get a little weird here. And I think 27 might be too high for this guy, but Jackson Powers Johnson.
You're going to go interior after we're snubbing Jordan Morgan. You're going to go with a center?
I mean, he's center with guard versatility. He could be your center of the future. He could be your Creed Humphrey.
He looks like a real leader.
Okay.
Too.
I don't think that. Listen, he's had a dominant week, and I think you play him at left guard this year. Correct? He starts at left guard then, next to somebody,
probably
or Kelvin Beachum or somebody. I have no issue with that. I just with how well your center played last year, and he's under contract, and I think you want to keep that going with K1. You're drafting him to be a guard, in my opinion. Like, you're not Yelder Froholt. If he puts together another good season with the Cardinals, he's going to get re-signed. They're not going to jet set Kyler Murray center. Yelder Froholt was fantastic. Plus, he's incredibly close to Kyler Murray. So, yeah, I like Jackson's tape a lot, and he's from a big boy program, and he's putting on a show this week. And you want to move people around at the Senior Bowl, like, he's the guy to do it. So no issue with that. Yeah, Powers Johnson was dominant according to Jordan P on tape as well. No issue with that. No problem.
Okay, and then I would probably say somebody that's not here in Chop Robinson, like Tony said. You got anybody, Damon, that stands out to you at 27?
I think you just got to be looking at a lot of the edge guys, right? And whatever tackle falls. So
you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but I think the way this is trending, where the tackle position could be picked clean by 27, you could see maybe 6 tackles go before 27. If you're not convinced that some of these tweeners can be a left tackle for you, and if you're not in love with maybe the defensive lineman yet, Money Talk Jay, I'm going to tell you right now, what happens if they have another receiver graded way higher than the rest of these guys? What do you do in that scenario? Just entertain it for a second. You get Marvin at 4.
Yeah.
And there's a receiver with a top 20 grade that somehow falls to them at 27.
Lad McConkey.
I think you.
We said top 20.
Consider it. I think you
we
have
said
to
top 20. That's not top 20. I mean, there's Xavier Legette, who had a big bounce back today from South Carolina.
That's
was making,
good.
Probably made the play of the day, maybe of the week. Tough contested catch. Man, I just don't see with Marvin at 4 that no, I'm not considering it.
You're not considering. Okay,
I won't.
That's fine.
I would look at those defensive tackles. You know, Devondre Sweat, who I just popped in and just said, "Hey, you talked to Cardinals?" He said, "Yeah, I talked to him earlier today." So Devondre Sweat, Byron Murphy II, Chris Jenkins. I think that might become, you know, one of those guys. But like, obviously, what, you know, Damon's saying as far as the edge, you're looking for that premier position, you know, with that 5th-year option being at play.
Absolutely. Well, you and I differ on what a premium position is, but if they're convinced that one of the defensive linemen, whether it be Texas or otherwise, they love them, and they aren't convinced if they pass on at 27, they're going to make it to 35, then you take them at 27. Like, no one's going to clamor about, hey, we overdrafted a defensive tackle at 27. Like, I think that's still really good value. Jordan P. Byron Murphy at 27 would be amazing, but no way he falls that far. I mean, then you have to start playing a game with not everybody can go the 26 picks before you. Like we had this issue last year too. It was just like, hey, none of these guys are going to be available at the top of round 2. It's like not everybody can be a first rounder, and there are surprises every year. So like, you know, you and I eventually are going to do a list of guys that ideally we'll do a list at some point this offseason after pick 4, 5 through 26 of guys that we would love have to be available at 27. And there are gonna be a handful of guys that we like that hopefully they like that get there. And I think to me, it's still all about like, does Jerzon Newton, does he solidify himself as defensive tackle number 1, or is he very much in vogue during the college football season? Maybe he tests okay, gets maybe a stigma placed on him because he played at Illinois, didn't have a great year. Like that, to me, that's the best case scenario still. Like even before this situation with the tackles occurred, Jerzon Newton, once upon a time, was going to be my pick if the Houston pick was outside of, the back half of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Seeing Darius Robinson is making his way up draft boards. Interior defensive lineman. I think there's a Gabe Hall out of Baylor, who's just a big kid who made a lot of noise in day one. I think you should be encouraged by the depth of the defensive line. Like no stars. I think Jerzon and Byron Murphy II are emerging as the top 2 prospects in this draft, and then you start to look at Tavondre and Chris Jenkins. But there's depth there that I think that you can find. To really build this thing that is in desperate need of it. And I guess I'm getting to the point where 27, depending on like how many of these top studs at premium positions are gone, like maybe I don't take issue with them taking somebody that late in the first round.
Money Talk Jay, I really doubt the Bears are drafting Caleb. The Bears locker room loves Justin. Money Talk Jay, I got some bad news for you, but I got good news for everybody else. You can join the Inner Circle right now with our friends at Circle K by becoming an exclusive member. All you got to do for free is to download the Circle K app today. It's America's thirst stop, folks. We're going to be heading out to Las Vegas. The fellas are on the road constantly. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Every 6 free selection of Circle K products like pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. Like I have no idea what dinner is at the house tonight. Might just go over to Circle K right around the corner, pick up some za. You should too. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
We're road tripping to Vegas, and you can bet that we're getting our gas at Circle K along the way. We're going to tap into our Inner Circle, hopefully get some snacks, and get out the door and on the road for Vegas this Sunday. You're going to get wall-to-wall coverage from Radio Row, leading you up to the big game with your friends at ALLCITY at PHNX. We're going to have the best and exclusive interviews. Already have an interview lined up with a big-time Cardinals player out there late next week. Can't wait for it. But also in Vegas, you want to have your money right. And Desert Financial Credit Union is going to be where you're going to have the most obviously legit spot to take care of your money. It's the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, and it's the official credit union of PHNX Sports. Johnny obviously has the Arizona Cardinals debit card. I've got mine.
Let me pull it out real quick.
If you're an Arizona sports fan, what are you doing? You got to get that Arizona Cardinals officially licensed Visa debit card, and you got to do your banking with Desert Financial Credit Union. Show your team spirit with the free checking account online. Get that Cardinals Visa debit card and go to desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to get started. That's desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to get started.
So Tony Pauline alluded to it in his comments with you. The Caleb Williams to the Bears thing. Are we ready to put dirt on the situation that is Justin Fields remaining in Chicago? Like, is that even a talking point in Mobile?
So we're with Nick Marino of CHGO every day here, and he's dialed in. Hoag's dialed in, Carm's dialed in, Bragg's, we're doing wellness checks on him on the daily. But as far as the Justin Fields era, it's over. And, you can like a guy and he could be a good locker room as much as he can be. But the fact remains that they're going to take Caleb Williams at the top of the draft. And I think that that's becoming more and more visible to the rest of the NFL. And it's just going to be an inevitability that they're moving on from Justin Fields, and we'll see where his next stop is. And I think, whatever team gets him, whatever fan base is going to be pumped about that, because there's unlocked potential there. And, he had, showed signs of growth, maybe minimal growth, but signs of growth. And hopefully, he's going to be getting into what, regardless if he were to stay or go, what is it, his fourth offensive play caller in his entire NFL career. That's crazy. So it's going to be another kind of process for him to get acclimated to wherever he may be next season.
Yeah, I'll make a prediction right now. I have nothing to back this, but I just feel like the timeline and the trajectory map up. I think Justin Fields is traded before free agency. I think Justin Fields is moved right after the combine. I think that deal gets done behind closed doors in Indianapolis, and I think the Bears make as quick of a clean break as possible. You cannot have this linger on into March, into April. Ask Steve Keim how that worked out with Josh Rosen, where the pick literally got sold for pennies on the dollar on day 2 of the NFL draft. And yeah,
68 overall is not bad considering they didn't really have any options.
Yeah, but Justin Fields, you've got a little cachet. Certainly, fans like him. We like him, and we feel like we have to become anti Justin Fields because we understand what's happening. We want Marvin at 4, but I think he's been underserved, and I think if he were to go to like a Pittsburgh or somewhere like that, Atlanta would be interesting. But yeah, I think Justin Fields, my prediction now is probably the second week of March, maybe the first week, he's moved and it becomes official once free agency hits, and the Bears can just say, you know what, we're keeping our options open. But at the end of the day, there's a special player available at first overall. Like as Tony Pauline said, if the Denver Broncos are trying to get up to pick 3 and the Patriots and other teams are like, no, thank you. There's no package in which the Bears would accept for Caleb Williams. Here's what fans don't understand. You can only trade 3 first-round picks at one time. So a franchise like the Vegas Raiders could come to you and say, we want to give you 10 first-rounders for Caleb Williams. It's against the rules. They are not allowed to do that. So you can put a price on what Caleb Williams is, and it's not enough. In a singular offseason, even with established players included in the trade, like Chicago Bears are like, it's more important to have a special difference maker at quarterback than 3 first-round picks and 3 seconds and Max Crosby or, Patrick Surtain or whomever. Like, you get the quarterback and everything else can kind of fall into place. Yeah. It's great that these 3 teams understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got one more prospect that we confirmed interest from the Arizona Cardinals today. Before we get out of here, Johnny, it's a local product. Corona del Sol's own former Arizona State Sun Devil turned Florida Gator Ricky Pearsall says he talked to the Arizona Cardinals during his stint here in Mobile.
What is a projected round for him, you think?
Probably on the high end, early 3rd.
I mocked him to the Cardinals, and I got chastised by our GM Saul Bookman. He did not like when I did that. But
he's a legit 6'3".
I think he could go in the second after how good he's been in these first couple of days.
Take him at 35
necessarily, but I think that there's
Johnny
possibility he does go that high.
Yeah,
I think we're looking at one of those 3 third-round picks for a sweet spot for him. If Cardinals are interested in him, and he has looked really good. Contested catches, running routes, tall, Arizona boy.
What happened unprovoked from any site? We just fired up the mic and the camera, and I said, "Who's the Michael Wilson of this?" Who said that?
Jim Nagy.
Yeah, Jim Nagy.
Yeah,
he told me that to my face, and I said, "That's a good comp," because that's what I said. Ricky Pearsall is this year's Michael.
So smart.
Wilson.
You and your buddies just patting each other on the back. Love that. Smart ass. Look how smart I am with all my insider friends. No, it is a good comp because he's got raw traits, but he hasn't put it all on the field yet. His statistics are a little underwhelming. My opinion is, and I put this on Twitter, I will be disappointed if the Cardinals don't double dip in this receiver class. I think it's too good of a class. I love Michael Wilson. I love what he projects. I could see a reality in which we fast forward to November next year, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr. and what else do they have? Because he'll miss time potentially. I don't want that to happen to Michael Wilson, but it's part of his resume now. He missed time last year. He missed time at Stanford. You have an opportunity. Like Terry McLaurin went in the 3rd round, right? Puka Nacua went in the 5th round. This team is not strong enough at receiver as currently constructed, and certainly proven enough where you can say, well, we've got a guy and he's the 45th player on our big board and we're picking 68th. But, we already took a player at 4, so we're good. No. You double up because that's what the NFL, it's about value. And the value in this year's class is on offensive line and wide receivers. Load up. Don't force these picks. Load up at the same positions. I'm not going to ever complain about that.
Yeah. You gave me a lot of credit by me saying how smart I am, and I'm so dumb I can't even put a little sunscreen on my lobster face out here.
You were
at
getting
Mobile.
heat from the chat earlier, but I didn't bring it up.
It deserved it, so.
Okay.
It so. I'm not insecure about it.
I've been walking around scouring random people for sunscreen. I just find the closest guy I find it's a sunscreen thing, and I just say, hey man, hate to be that guy, but can I have some of that? It's pretty much saved my life.
You need the roll-on stick that I use on my kids.
I need anything. That's all I need. I need anything.
You would think too, people asking you, where are you from? Are you from areas where the sun's not out? Typically, it's we practice, sunscreen etiquette here. That's a little embarrassing.
You would think it is. It's like, how are you burned on your face? Because I have my head up my ass and I'm not putting on sunscreen. Not even the
You're
lightest.
too busy grinding, getting the scoops.
That's right.
And I appreciate that.
But one thing, to your point, as far as the wide receivers go, and double dipping is fine. And especially when you look at the state of the wide receiver room right now, that as it stands, they've got 3 guys under contract.
Yeah.
And they could, I'm surprised that Greg Dortch wasn't a part of today's announcement as far as Jesse Luketa and Carter O'Donnell. And we'll see, maybe they're working on something bigger and better for Dortch. You hope that, right? Because he might have outperformed at an exclusive rights contract 1-year tender. But I think as far as the wide receiver room goes, with 3 guys and then the potentially a 1 at 4, when you start to look at your starters, that would be Marvin Harrison Jr. potentially at X, Michael Wilson at Z, and then you start to look at guys. Do you look at guys as depth, or do you look at guys maybe that can play in the slot? You got your size. You potentially have a 6'4" X receiver, and you got a 6'3", 6'4" Z receiver in Michael Wilson. Do you start to look at somebody to maybe potentially take over the starting slot receiver spot, or do you just get the best receiver available and he just can run multiple route trees?
I think you get somebody Seattle has laid the blueprint with, unfortunately, Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson, the receiver, Smith and Jigma that they took this year. All those guys are interchangeable. Lockett can play inside. Jackson can play inside. Metcalf can play outside. And they're elite pass catchers at their trait. And I think the Cardinals need versatility. But if there's an outside receiver, even after you take Marvin at 4, that you're infatuated with, I'm sorry, this is the year to do it. You don't want to be sitting back again. If it's a good problem to have, if all of them work out and you have too many snaps to go around, it's going to be a kick in the ass if you're in Thanksgiving and this team's over 500, but they got 1.5 available wide receivers. And I know they're going to run the football, but you can never have enough. And the fact that outside of Marvin too, depending on where you take it, 3rd round picks, it's not a day 1 pick. It's not a top 40 pick. Those are they're premium picks, but they're flyers at the same time. I am of the mindset it's a premium position, and you want to be in a position. Think about where the Cardinals were in their passing game late this year, and what Kyler Murray had to, I don't want to say overcome, but it was tough on Sundays. Who can even separate? Remember some of the receiver totals we saw, and that Michael Wilson was healthy and was active. He still couldn't make the plays. I love Michael Wilson. He was fantastic at stretches this year. In my opinion, he has not done enough. If there's a kid from flipping Georgia or the SEC that they love that's available in the 3rd round, you just take him and you're just go compete, Michael. Go compete. That's what this team is. And Gannon will support that. But we can't be anointing people that, unless you're Paris Johnson Jr. and you were an ass kicker all year, BJ Ojolari is going to have to compete. Garrett Williams is going to have to compete. That's what this team is missing. under Kingsbury and Keim, we anointed guys. We anointed Simmons and we anointed these players. And it just, then the coaches got their hands on them, like, well, these guys can't play. So,
Right.
And I'm not saying Michael Wilson can't play, but depth is not a bad thing.
Right. Oh, it's not a great thing, and something that this organization has lacked severely for too many years. And I think with the draft and develop plan that they're going to get it in the form of, all the draft capital this year, and hopefully add some guys that can starter caliber players in free agency as well. But excited about this offseason for the Arizona Cardinals. Excited about tomorrow's show, Johnny. You want to tune in. We're going to be doing our last broadcast from the Senior Bowl here in Mobile. We got Quinyon Mitchell, Toledo cornerback, projected first-round pick, joining us. Jordan Morgan, University of Arizona, projected first-round pick as of right now. Ricky Pearsall, as I said, Florida wide receiver, former ASU in Arizona Valley native. Ricky Pearsall and Jim Nagy, the executive director of Senior Bowl, and then Damian Parson, our guy from the Draft Network, full-time Dame, joins us tomorrow. You don't want to miss out on any of the action from Mobile. We're wrapping up our coverage tomorrow. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports for more. Of course, great insight, great conversation as far as this Valley Sports community, and follow us and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts. Rate us, leave a review, and check out gophnx.com. iHeartDay. Get access to that exclusive member Discord. Anything before we get out of here, Johnny?
Yeah, topic 64, $1.99, friend of the program. Totally agree with JV. That's right. We need receivers. We do need receivers. We need all of you to become a diehard at gophnx.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year. We are diehard for you guys. The offseason, it's just begun. Big thank you, Damon Dog, Bo Brock, boots on the ground in Mobile. Coverage wraps tomorrow. Do not miss out. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, PHNX Sports. Like this video. 300 likes is the goal. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your evening. We will see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.